that, we also have it on our Facebook and our membership club, and then get where I'm actually under saddle so I can talk you through a couple things. So the reason that I titled this session, Building a Respectful Bond, is so much of all the issues that you have with a horse start from the ground. Now, without your typical natural horsemanship groundwork methods, ours are a little bit different, but our big thing is we have a grade school system, kindergarten through 12th grade, where if the horse doesn't pass, we don't move on. So if for any reason the horse isn't passing that grade, we're going to stay at that grade level until they pass, and then we're going to continue on to the next grade. What I want you all to remember is passing, not perfection. We talked about this yesterday, so I'm going to try not to spend too much time going through the same things. But a lot of times frustration in the horse and frustration in the rider comes from pushing and pushing and pushing for perfection and burning the horse out, burning yourself out, and both of you ending up frustrated. We want to do everything we can to set the horses up for success and set ourselves up for success. And that's going to help take out all of the static, all the things that really frustrate us through that process. So our first step in our program is preschool. For those of you that have watched the whole starting from the beginning, preschool for us is a round pen where I have tarps set up, and I have them set up from the center of the arena to the rail where the horses have to go over that. So all I'm going to ask the horse to do is free lunge one time in each direction and go over the tarps and not come and run me over and not come into my space. I want you to remember that you are a person. I weigh 150 pounds. He weighs 1,200 pounds, 1,100 pounds. You want to make sure so that at all times that they respect your space, and respect your bubble. It's okay if I want to bring him in here and I want to love on him and tell him he's pretty and give him love and affection, that's fine. But that's on my terms. If we're sitting here and he's trying to nudge me or wants to get into my space, what we're going to do is we're going to go into kindergarten. I have a natural horsemanship halter on him that has a knot on the top of the nose. So everything that I do from the ground, there's the knot up on the top on the center, which is the most sensitive part of his nose. And I'm going to use downward pressure on my lead rope. Some natural horsemanship methods have you wiggle, some have a stick to use to back the horse. I want the horse to respect me for me, and I want every time that I communicate to this horse on the halter to be the same that it's going to be whenever I get to the saddle. I don't want to have to re-communicate to my horse that I'm on his back and I'm wiggling my finger to get the rope to go like this. I can't make that same thing happen in the saddle to get the horse to back up. So by applying backward pressure, if he doesn't respond to my hands, I'm going to move him back. I'm being very careful when I do this step not to break my own bubble. If I get close enough moving to him, no matter how far I take him back, if I get close enough to him that I can touch him, I'm too close. Use your hand, little downward pressure, get him to back up out of your space. He's a little bit more sensitive than some horses. Some horses you might have to work a little bit harder. What I want you to remember with every horse, and this varies like with my colt starting horse today, every horse has a different variation of pressure that they need to go forward, pressure that they need to go through a process. But you always want to start with the least amount of pressure possible, build your way up till they get the idea, and then backtrack. So my horse today, I used a whip and a lunge whip to get her to understand when I click, that means forward. When I kick you, that means forward. If I prop you and you go, you want to make sure that you use the least amount of pressure forward to get that response. So if she would have trotted off with a kiss, that's all the pressure that I would have needed for her. If she would have trotted off with me squeezing or kicking my legs, that's all the pressure she would need. So what happens when you do that, and you do this in steps every time in sequence, is you get to where you can kiss and they trot off or canter off, instead of having to kick, instead of having to prop. So I'm hoping with her, after going through this process earlier today, where I kiss to her, click to her, kick her, pop her, she'd go forward. The next time I can click to her, kiss to her, kick her, and she goes forward. And the next time after that, I can just kiss and she goes forward. So for some horses, when you go to do this step, you might have to get really big, you might have to go up and down a couple times for them to get the process. The other thing I want you to remember is if he steps forward, after I ask him to stay out of my bubble, if he takes any step forward, I'm going to make him take a step back. If I didn't ask him to come forward, I don't want him moving into my space without being asked. Today, that's not a big deal because that might be one step. Tomorrow, it's going to be 2 steps. The next day, it's going to be 3 steps. Unfortunately, with horses, if you give them an inch, they take a mile. So you've got to remember that every once in a while, even if you've got a horse super advanced on your saddle, don't be afraid to go back when you have a problem. Go back to one of these steps and then continue on. The next thing we're going to do is first grade. We did this yesterday. I'm going to put my coils in my hand that's holding the lead rope, and I'm going to use my popper on this side. I'm going to step to his shoulder and ask him to step off and look at me. So we don't do typical lunging in our program. We don't believe in wearing the horse out. We want the horse to be as fresh and sensitive as possible through the whole training process. If you went out and ran 2 miles and then tried to come sit in the classroom and learn calculus, you would not be very good at calculus, okay? So I don't want my horse to be hot and sweaty when I'm trying to teach him something. So in this step, I'm going to start calling his head downward. So my hand's going to get closer and closer to his head. I want him to look at me, give me his attention, and walk a circle around me. I'm not asking for any speed here. To stop him, I'm going to disengage his hindquarters. I'm going to change directions, popper in this hand, step to his shoulder, and make him move out of my space. A lot of times when you go to do this the first time, the horse will try to shoulder into you, and make sure you stand your ground and pop that shoulder to move them out of your bubble. He raises up, sends it to the side. With a big horse like this, you want to make sure that you keep an eye on that front shoulder and not positioning yourself in a way where he can face you up to strike you. He doesn't necessarily have an aggressive tendency, but he does want to square me up just a little bit. I'm just going to keep pushing him out with my hand. So I'm not asking for any speed here. So I'm just going to get him calm down, figuring out the process. For him, he's a little bit sensitive, so a kick works really well for him to understand that I want something. Keep calling his head downward. Disengage his hindquarters. Change direction. Good. There we go. So all I want to see in this step is that he'll walk a circle and look at me. I also want to see that I can add pressure and still hold him. If I would scoop him, or throw my lead rope over the saddle, or do anything that makes him uncomfortable, if he would take me and grab me and drag me, or cause me to go redneck skiing, he is not ready to ride. So even with our quick starting horses, if I can scoop them and make them uncomfortable and still have their hand, or still have their face, and not get drugged, and be able to hold them and stand in a spot, or move a couple steps and still be able to easily hold them, I'm going to ride that horse. So the big thing with our program is if they pass the test, and they do what it is that we're asking them to do, as long as they pass, we're going to move on. I don't ever want to be the biggest limiting factor in what my horse is capable of. If the horse answers the correct answer, and they're able and they're ready to move on, I'm going to move on with that horse. So even though that wasn't perfect, he didn't walk the whole time, he gave me his attention, I could make him uncomfortable, and I could still hold him. So I'm going to move on a little faster with all the desensitizing today so I can get up in the saddle. Every time I desensitize, I do the same process, and I approach the same way. Lead rope. I'm not going to pay attention to him. I'm not going to show with my body language that I'm upset about anything. I'm not going to come at him aggressively. It's amazing how many people have issues working their horses and desensitizing because they either come and approach desensitizing in a very nervous manner. Oh my gosh, the rope, I know you hate the rope, I know you hate the rope. And the energy that you put into these horses, it's amazing how much of that is self-made and we just don't think about it. So with everything you do, if you approach it like, this isn't a big deal. This isn't a big deal. You're not looking at them like you're going to eat them. I've seen people try to walk up to their horse with a tarp, and they look like they're scared of the tarp. So if you're scared of the tarp, why should your horse trust you? So with the flag stick, I'm going to go straight to the nose, straight to the cheek, down the shoulder. I'm keeping my hand up, so if he would try to come into me, that I can keep my hand to block. When you have your hand up like this, you'll notice today in the colt running, I kept my elbow up a lot, and I kept my hand up a lot, because my little filly kept trying to bite me. So by having something up there, if she runs into it, it kind of gives her that automatic repercussion for doing the wrong thing, and it keeps me safe and bumps me out of the way so she doesn't bite my leg. Not about that life. So same thing. They also have below and above that makes horses nervous. And then with the flag stick, I also like to cross over to the other eye and activate that other eye like I would with my leg coming over. So with our system, if you come to one of our clinics, if my husband works one of your horses at one of our clinics, he starts from scratch no matter what you tell him about the horse. He doesn't care about the horse's background. He doesn't care if it's a kid's horse. If they do not pass these tests, he is not riding that horse. So if he goes through this process, and he's going to find where your horse has the hole. So for some people, that might be, oh, my horse has a sticky shoulder, oh, my horse bucks once in a while, my horse is unpredictable. Horses are not unpredictable creatures. If you're not seeing these issues earlier on in training, you're not asking the right questions. So if he goes back up, I'm just going to stay with him. It's a lot harder for him to go back and at an angle than it is for him to run circles. Let me say that again. When you're desensitizing, do not let your horse just run circles around you. It's a lot harder for them to move backwards, and it's a lot more difficult for them to engage their hind end doing that than it is for them to just run endless circles around you. Nose, shoulder, bring your way back. And we went through this yesterday. You guys could see that process. We also have a membership club. So after I've seen that I can go through and desensitize, which is second grade for us, we're going to desensitize the motion. So now I want to see that I can take an object that might spook him. We love tarps because they're cheap and they break, and they don't put horses in a bad situation. Just going to make a simple knot here on the front. And now I'm going to go back to first grade, but I'm going to do that with an obstacle on the start. So when I'm doing the colt starting process, I want by time I get in the saddle, I want to make sure that I am the least scary thing that has been on that horse's back. Good boy. So once I see that he can go both directions, step into his shoulder, make him move, not me. So horses in the wild, in the pasture when you're out with an alpha mare, whoever gives ground is the beta. So keep that in mind when you're working your horses. I know that was scary, that was my bubble, sorry. When you're working with horses, same kind of thing. If they make you move your feet one day and they only make you move one step, that next day is going to become 2 steps. So if you hear me hit him at the end here, if I tap him with this lead rope, so usually if he's trying to run me over or gets into my space, I'm going to pop that shoulder. But most of the time when you hear this popper, it's me hitting the saddle. I want to create extra noise that makes this horse uncomfortable. So I can make sure that if he gets unsure about something, if we were out on the trail and we were riding and he got unsure about something, that I could still grab his face with my reins and have control of him. We talked about this yesterday as well. But nobody gets into a vehicle and goes to drive and checks the steering wheel. If the steering wheel doesn't turn, you don't continue to drive and go somewhere. You call a mechanic, you get something fixed. People all the time get on horses that don't have control of the steering wheel. You don't know that if something goes wrong, no matter what happens, that you can turn your reins and have control of that horse. So by thinking of controlling the head versus controlling the feet, our whole system is around control the head, control the horse. You know that when something goes wrong, you've got the ability to have a manual override. Be able to pull right and left and do what you need to do. So with our colt starting horses, we don't even put a stop and back on them until they have some forward. Good. So I'm not going to set up here and do. So I'm going to grab this part. Now I'm going to make sure that I can scoot him a little bit and still have his face. If he's hard for me to hold, I'm going to go back to more first grade. I can grab the stirrup here and pop the stirrup leather. Good boy. Change directions. Little lead rope movement. Good boy. Reach up here and grab the part. Good boy. Pop the stirrup. Good boy. And again, with everything we do, I don't want to see that he is 100% calm. That is not my goal to move on. That he's not breathing heavy, that he's not excited, that he's not worried about this. I'm okay if a horse is worried and concerned about something, as long as they do what they're supposed to do. So you can be nervous about something. As long as you sit still, you stand quiet. I want a horse's reaction when they get nervous is to stop and look at me to be their rider. Look at me to be the guide, pilot, whatever you want to call it. You can gain so much trust with your horse just in the simplicity of them knowing that when something makes them uncomfortable, you're going to keep them safe. When something makes them unweary and not happy out on the trail, stop and wait for that instruction. You want to get your horses where they're not trying to make their own judgment, they're not trying to think on themselves. And the cool thing about this is it's amazing how quiet a horse's mind will get if they don't have to think, if they don't have to feel like every time that they're in the saddle, that they're on the trail, that they have to think about what's going on and make their own decisions. So we want to get this horse where he wants to walk quietly on a loose rein with his head down and pay attention to what it is that we're wanting to work on. So I'm going to go ahead and take the tarp off. I don't know. Did I bring reins, Miss Cindy? Is that bridle over there with you? I forgot to steal the reins off of that. They won't be matching, but it's okay. So the next step that I'm going to go into him is 4th grade mounting prep. He's already a horse that's under saddle. Hopefully we're not going to spend much time on that. So when I'm getting the horse ready to colt start, after I've seen all these things, I am ready to ride. It may be the first session, it may be the first 10 minutes, it might be 3 sessions in. If the horse answers the question and understands what I'm asking, I'm going to move on. It's just that simple. And it's one of those things that's kind of a hard mindset to understand because with typical natural horsemanship and things in the past, is everybody wants you to lunge the horse, lunge the horse, lunge the horse. Get him to face you, get him to face you. And in our program, the reason that we steered away from those methods and kind of, Michael went through and created his own program, is he comes from Pasapinos who are extremely hot, amazing horses, very tough compared to my quarter horses that like to injure themselves and be babies 24/7, but they're very spicy. They can be very spicy. And so if you went out and you tried to lunge a paso, on day 1 that would be cute. On day 2, that would be cute. On day 3, they would be lunging you, and on day 4, you would be completely wore out because they can go forever. They're an endurance breed. Same thing with Arabians, warm bloods, anything that's got a little bit more spice to it. If you try to lunge them, they're not going to understand the concept. So when we work everything from the cold, it puts us in a place where we're able to use their sensitivity to our advantage. So for mounting prep, what I would do is I keep my horse's head turned towards me, and I'm going to bounce him down right here. Whenever I'm getting ready for a colt, I know, weird, what are you doing? For the colt starting horses, I'll also take my knee, and I'll touch them right here. So whenever I put my foot in the stirrup on a colt starting horse, you don't want the first time that your toe touches them to be when you're trying to step over and up and over into the saddle. So I'm going to jump up and touch him where my toe would touch him. Try not to lose my microphone. And then after I have that process, oh gosh, I just brought my block. I would activate this other eye, make sure they see me before I throw my leg over, and throw my leg over. So on him, funny thing, if you're working a colt starting horse, and it's truly a colt starting horse, we get a lot of horses in for training that are colt starts, but usually, just kind of in the standard, if a male sends us a horse to colt start, especially if it's a male cowboy, you really wonder if it's truly a colt start. So whenever we have a horse come, we go through our program, we know pretty quick if that horse is actually a colt starting horse, or if that horse is a failed colt starting horse. So somebody threw saddle on it, tried to ride it, had a bad experience, and said, okay, let me send this to somebody who knows what they're doing, or let me send this little rank thing to somebody else. So once I get up in the saddle, one of the first things I'm going to do with my horse is I'm going to disengage the hindquarters. I'm going to sit back, look up. I care nothing about my showmanship of my body. I don't care what my body looks like. So for us, you're going to be fun today, aren't you? So I put my feet, pardon? 10 minutes? Tops, we're good. So for me, I put my feet in front of me, heels down, sit back. So whenever I'm riding a colt start or riding any horse, I say colt start just because it lets you kind of know what we're going through on this program. I bring my reins up to me, my hand down, and I'm going to look at his butt. Good. Good boy. Do the same thing, bring my reins up to me. I don't want to ever reach down to grab my reins. Can you see where it puts my body? Another thing you see is people reach down to grab their reins, they pick their feet up and they squeeze. Okay, all not good things. So, bring my reins up, slide my hip down, look over his butt. And release. So for my colt starting horses, I'll go one time to each direction, and then let them to in the saddle, if you come back to these beginning steps, you're going to find that. So I've never ridden this horse, but I would imagine, just by going through these steps, any bit of attitude or frustration that you see in the saddle doing anything else is going to show its true colors and tell you what you need to work on here. So for him, he is not passing this step for me, so I'm going to work on it until he gets a little bit closer to passing. My expectation of passing is a little bit different for a colt start versus a horse that's supposed to be under saddle. Good boy. So I just want to see that he can freely give me his hindquarters and give me his space without fussing about it. We're going to let him sit for a second. One thing that Michael's noticed doing clinics and doing expos is how much quicker a horse can advance at one of his clinics versus a horse that's at home for training. So when we're at home training, we work the horses, and we're not really having to explain that process. At a clinic, he does something, fixes something, and then sits and talks about it. So in between, as long as he's doing the right thing for him, he just wants to stay jittery. So I'm going to go back to it again. Good boy. There. And all I want to see there is that I can pick his head up, get his butt, and have it move a little bit more freely without biting my feet. The feet biting crew today. So after I see that I can disengage their hindquarters one time each direction, I'm going to walk them off. Before we go into push obstacles, I've got 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to skip the process a little bit. We do a drill called spirals. All of these grade levels that we do are on our Facebook page. We have a membership club where we walk you through this entire process. We ride any horse that comes to us, colt starting horse, problem horse, killed somebody, bit a kid, whatever it may be. We ride every single horse that comes to us in a natural horsemanship halter. And the only time that we're moving them to a bitch is when they're ready to work on something more advanced or it's been requested by their owner. So we feel comfortable taking any horse off the track thoroughbred. I would feel comfortable taking him to a racetrack as long as he's went through and passed my system and know that I'm okay and I've got control in a halter. Part of what helps you with that is the fact that this has the knots on the noseband. And we use those in our training program because every knot is on the more sensitive part of the nose. And we don't like to fight with horses. So if you, for any reason, feel like you're fighting with a horse, take a step back, find a different approach, and don't try to fight mano a mano. For a lot of these horses, and you can go to pulsating pressure, like my filly that I had earlier today, she wants to go the opposite direction of the direction I tell her. So instead of just grabbing her face and saying, hey, turn this direction, I'm sitting there and I'm being annoying, and I'm like, turn this way, turn this way, turn this way. And it's amazing how being persistent and having the pulsating pressure can get their attention back where it needs to be. So one of the things that I wanted to skip to today and show you is working on push obstacles and how we go through and want them to kind of respect us and our hands more than they're scared or worried about whatever it is in front of them. So things to remember about push obstacles is you want to pick something big. So if you're out on a trail and you've not practiced doing a push obstacle, do not pick a puddle. Unless your puddle is as big as a lake or your puddle is a stream and it's completely long all the way along it, don't try to pick an itty-bitty object to cross over if you have not worked with your horse on crossing something bigger. So what we do with every single obstacle that we approach after they've been through our grade school system is I'm going to sit back, look up, and anytime that he wants to go a different direction, I'm just going to face him back up towards the obstacle. Face him back up towards the obstacle. Good boy. So since he's under saddle already and has already been ridden, I'm going to be a little bit more picky with how much progress we make versus a colt starting horse. And by that, I mean that both of them are going to go over the tarp. But my method is going to be a little bit different. So with my colt starting horse, I'm going to have them investigate it. I'm going to have them put their nose down. I'm going to give him a little bit of a chance to do that here because I've never ridden him. But if a horse has been over a tarp, I'm going to be a little bit more picky of saying, hey, you know exactly what this is. So I'm going to turn him towards it. Good. Good boy. He goes right, I'm going to pull left. If he goes left, I'm going to pull right. Face him back up. So the only release that he gets is being forward. If he goes the opposite direction, good boy. If he goes through, I'm going to give him the space, turn him right back around it. So I don't want to grab his face mid obstacle? The reason for that is the biggest problem with obstacles is people sit far forward and they hold on the horse's face. Good boy. So I'll wait till he gets through. Turn it back towards it. And if you try to hold on the horse's face while they're going through an obstacle, one of Michael's favorite things to say is you're turning the tarp into acid water. So you're asking the horse to go forward, but you're sitting forward, you're looking at the obstacle because you think you're going to die. You're squeezing your horse and you're holding on his face, and you can only put so much air in that balloon before it pops. So whenever he goes over that, even if he wants to jump over it the first couple times, I'm going to get him his face, get through it, disengage. Okay? With any obstacle that you're working with, of course, sit back, look up, and know that there's a potential that they're going to jump it the first time. Okay? If you anticipate that and you know that and you're preparing for that, don't let it make you nervous. You know it's a possibility. So I'm just going to turn it right back to it. The other fun thing is we always get this conversation. Well, what do I do if I'm out on the trail and there's 20-foot drop or 20-foot rise to the one side of me and 100-foot drop off to the other, and something spooks my horse and there's no way to go around it? How do I teach him to go through that obstacle? First off, if you have a horse that you haven't worked on getting to go through obstacles, you have no business taking it on the side of the mountain. Okay? So you can set your horse up for success by being in a controlled environment, being in a round pen, being in an arena. Go to Walmart, spend $100, much trash as you can. Get tarps, get hula hoops, get pool noodles, get anything that's going to freak your horse out. If you say, that'll spook my horse, get it. I have a feed bag with cans in it. I have a feed bag on the end of a meal marker stick made into a flag stick. I will set a jingle bell for a store. Get all the things that you can to make your horse uncomfortable and work through that in a situation where you can control it, in a situation where you feel comfortable. Make your horse uncomfortable in a place where you feel like you're the strongest, where you feel the most confident. Don't wait until you're out on a trail to work on your respect of your horse, your confidence in your horse's confidence in you. Out on the trail is not the place to do that. The place to do that is inside an arena, inside a round pen, somewhere where you can feel confident. Another big mistake that people make is make sure you're in a saddle where you can work on these things. Our saddles have, we call it the keister holder. We designed the saddle to have a higher front and a higher back, but have all of the qualities of our colt starting saddle. So the part that I love about this is you literally have to shake me and flip me upside down to get me out of the saddle. That's how comfortable it is. That's how it makes you feel secure in it. It's got a rough seat on the seat of it is not slick. And so it's one more thing that grabs you. If you go out to an obstacle course and your horse makes you uneasy and you go out in an English saddle, your chances of having success with that horse and getting them confident and having success in you is very slim. Don't be afraid to get into a saddle that makes you feel comfortable and be able to go out there and work through that. Really set your horse up for success, set yourself up for success. But those are a lot of common problems that we see. If you have any questions whatsoever, we have a booth back there in the big trailer. We have after we're done here, the halters, lead ropes, all that fun stuff. For any of you that are interested in our program, we also have a membership club. We have very easy, simple to follow videos. All of our videos are 5 to 10 minutes long to learn the concept. And then we have, if you want to watch hundreds of videos of Michael going through the process on a crazy horse, a horse that bucks, a horse that rears, a horse that killed a child, whatever it may be, we have all of those examples. You can watch the full, 45 minutes, hour and a half session of him working through those problems and how he's able to fix those problems by just going back to the basics. And because we say basics, I don't mean that you have to spend 6 weeks, 6 months in a round pen of steps. I'm just talking making a pre-ride checklist that lets you know anywhere you take your horse, anywhere you go, that you've got control and you're able to grab those reins and feel like you have confidence. I think I'm out of time, so I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day. I will be back in the round clock for the colt starting, and I will also be back at our booth to answer any questions you may have.